Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. I see I'm looking pretty good, so that's nice. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title, you know what this video is about. 5 reasons music festivals are overrated. Let's not BS this. Let's get right into the list, shall we? Numero uno. The sound is subpar, and there's very little in the way of intimacy with the artist. Excuse me slurring my words here. I'm kind of talking a little fast because I'm passionate about this topic, but anyway. No intimacy with the artist. I'm not saying you need to get up on stage and you need to be hugging on the artist, humping up on the artist, digging in their pockets. But there is not a single show that I have seen where I have enjoyed the festival performance of a particular artist that I've seen live more than I've enjoyed the venue performance of a particular artist that I've seen live. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The sound is sort of encapsulated into the venue, so you really kind of feel it. You really kind of soak it in. Granted that the venue actually has some decent sound. There are some venues out there that do have really crappy sound systems, so this is not a sort of true blue truth across the board, but generally, at least the sound is a little bit more impactful. You know, you really, again, soak it in. And intimacy, you're so close to the artist. They're right there. It's so visually appealing and gratifying to sort of be in the same room as these people who you admire for making the music that you do, as opposed to having maybe 3, 5, 10,000 people between you and the stage, and the sound is kind of wafting over your head, and you're not really feeling it. It's sort of just going out into the ether and just off into the distance, and it's not really kind of the physical experience that a venue show can be. And it just seems like a little distant, you know? There's like a little bit of a disconnect there. I'm going to try not to say as many you knows in this video. Don't say you know. Moving on from there. Expensive tickets, food, and drink. God damn, there are so many expensive festivals out there. And here are some top music festival sort of prices back in 2016, as reported by Consequence of Sound. We have Desert Trip, $990. Ultra Music Festival, $526. Outside Lands, $453. People out here got rent and mortgages to pay. Man, Coachella is over $600 for a 3-day pass? What? And that's just getting in. Then after that, you're talking about, a lot of the time, getting gouged for food, getting gouged for water, which at a lot of these things, they're during the summer. It's very hot. If you don't have water, you're going to freaking pass out. So you kind of need water. And it's just a little aggravating because you could take this money and those 5 favorite artists or bands that you're dying to see at that festival, if you live in an area where you can drive to the nearest city or you can drive over to the next state and catch them there, you will most likely save yourself more money doing that than if you were to go to this festival. Granted, I do enjoy a lot of underground artists. I'm not paying like $200 for tickets to go see Chance the Rapper or J. Cole or something like that. They may in fact be more in some cases. But generally, you could pull things off that way and save yourself some money and have some experiences that are a little bit more unique, individualized. It's not like treating music or a concert like a vacation or a theme park or something like that. So the expense, it's a little much in my opinion. It's a little much. Moving on from there, artist treatment is my next gripe. This is not anything entirely new or anything entirely surprising, and certainly not an issue that I have with all festivals across the board, but there have been enough instances in the past where you have artists, you have rappers, you have bands complaining about sort of being unhappy with the way that they were treated or not really prioritized or sort of commercialized upon in some additional ways when they joined up or performed at a particular festival. And this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. One sort of example over here of Danny Brown and Schoolboy Q criticizing South by Southwest. Here's the thing. When you're one of many, many, many artists on a bill and you're sort of a face in the crowd, you may not sort of take priority that some of the top billing artists do. There's a certain bit of privilege that kind of comes with that, and it can be sort of I guess, disheartening and disappointing, and lead to maybe a subpar performance or a lack of engagement with the crowd, or just a bit of distance or something, or the band performing, they're just kind of phoning it in. Let's move on to the next point that I have here. It's got a bit of a connection with the last two that I did. Flagrant commercialism, which, considering how much you pay for a lot of these things, you would figure that you would go into a mostly ad-free experience, but it's kind of weird. It's almost like going on YouTube and paying to watch videos on YouTube only for ads to be thrown in your face anyway. One of the most hilarious ironies that I've ever seen in a music festival, and this was at Primavera Sound over in Barcelona, which is a festival I do recommend and enjoy, by the way. But seeing... oh, God. Seeing Patti Smith there and her band perform Horses all the way through, and for there to be sort of gigantic, towering Heineken advertisements all over her as she's saying, "Fuck corporations!" It's a little hilarious. It's a little out of place. And it kind of ruins the experience a little bit. And obviously the advertisements are kind of there to actually distract away from the artist, distract away from the performance, or at least sear into your mind or make you associate that performance or this good time that you're having with that product. It's a little weird. I'll say the word predatory once again. And I know that at certain festivals, there isn't a whole lot in the way of advertising like that. Maybe you'll sort of catch some booths here and there where some products or some companies have paid to get in there to hand out some free stuff or make people aware of a certain product or something, which I don't have a big problem with, as long as people are sort of consciously and agreeing to take that stuff. And if they enjoy the product, maybe they'll come back to it. Giving out free stuff is not the worst way in the world to kind of promote your shit. However, when you're basically turning the artist into an advertisement, and I don't know if any of these artists are actually getting any additional pay for the fact that, sure, they're performing, but they're also kind of being turned into a billboard instead. Their performance is being turned into the foundation for a gigantic freaking billboard. Are they being paid for that? It kind of seems like something that they should be getting some additional pay for. Or at least maybe the crowd should be paying less getting in if they're just going to be advertised to so mercilessly. So it just kind of seems like this kind of comes back to my first point, or one of my earlier points, about just not getting a whole lot of bang for your buck sometimes. And again, this depends on the venue for the festival itself. And the last point that I want to make here, a very significant one, is safety. And there are lots of examples in the past, South by Southwest, where those people got hit by that car. And I've been to South by Southwest numerous times, and there are a lot of open streets there. There are not a whole lot in the way of closed off streets. There are venues all over the area. There's not a lot of sidewalk space a lot of the time. There are a lot of safety issues, in my opinion, when it comes to large crowds moving through a huge downtown area. And every single time I go down to see South by Southwest, it's like the crowds get bigger, but there aren't more barriers, there aren't more precautions, there aren't more efforts made to make sure that the sidewalks are large and functional and that people can safely get to whatever destination they're trying to get to. So, of course, something like that would happen. Of course, you also have Fire Festival, that sort of where a lot of shit hit the fan recently, and people were stranded on the festival grounds who paid tons of money to be there. Why Not Festival, that kind of devolved recently into chaos. Woodstock in 1999, like fires broke out. People were saying that they had been raped. People pass out at these things because they're in the hot sun or they get dehydrated. Crowd control can become an issue when fights break out or mosh pits get too large, or you have an artist who decides that they're just going to jump on top of you into the crowd in a really aggressive way, especially if they're like landing on top of you from the highest rafter of the stage or something like that. It can get a little dicey and get a little nutty. And please, don't just stand there and wait for some idiot who just got signed to a label who isn't going to be relevant in the next few years to jump on top of your head at some festival or something. Like, duck, get out of the way, move out of the way. That person and their hint of relevancy is not worth your physical well-being and them jumping on you. So I know that young people tend to feel that they are invincible, so safety isn't usually a top priority, especially when you go to one of these events. You're mostly concentrating on having fun. But just try to be a little bit more aware of your surroundings and what exactly is going on at the festival. Because here's the thing. For such a large crowd, for such a large apparatus, usually that security may be around the stage and whatnot, and for as many artists as may be on the stage, like, you are not the first priority when some shit goes down that could potentially affect everybody and everything in a particular area. Okay, you are not. Like, priority one is we got to make sure the artist is safe because they could sue us for millions of dollars. We got to make sure the stage is safe because that is probably worth a ton of money as well. And if some shit goes down where it causes the crowd to scatter or a fight breaks out or something, chances are security, they're not going to be jumping in there to save your life. That's not going to be the first thing that pops into their heads again. And not to say that that is because they're bad people or they don't care about human life or anything like that, but they are being paid to protect and prioritize and focus on a certain thing. They're there to keep the artist safe. They're there to keep the stage and the equipment safe. They're kind of there to keep you safe, which is definitely exemplified by the fact that sometimes at these festivals, when shit goes down, it's not like there are a ton of security guards rushing in to sort of make sure that this person is completely safe. Shit can go down at these festivals and in a very dangerous way. And unfortunately, I'm not exactly sure what the workaround for this is, because you're talking about a large crowd, lots of people. Some of them are really excited. Some of them are really high. Some of them are really drunk. Some of them are really dehydrated. Some of them may have nefarious intentions while they're there. Some of them may not be fully aware of what's going on around them. There are a lot of terrible things that can kind of happen as a result of that cocktail. So this is one thing that I would just like for you guys personally to sort of worry about a little bit more, because some bad shit can go down as a result of this. So these are essentially my points. Safety tends to not be as much a priority as I would like it to at a lot of music festivals. We also have the flagrant commercialism, which is a little much, does go overboard, does get really annoying. Artist treatment can certainly be depressing and disheartening. Expensive tickets, food and drink, you're not really getting a lot of bang for your buck a lot of the time. You're overpaying, in fact, I think, much of the time at some of these festivals. And the sound can be kind of subpar, and there's very little in the way of intimacy. Now, I don't mean to shit on all music festivals here across the board. If you're going to go to a music festival, there are plenty of very enjoyable music festivals that are kind of niche. They're small scale. They kind of center around a particular genre or style of music or subculture or part of the artistic or musical community. There are plenty of very great, very fantastic, well-run and well-organized punk, metal, jazz, hip-hop festivals like the A3C. I never really hear anything bad about Afropunk every year. Afropunk sort of seems to go off without a hitch every year. There are a lot of very nice, again, small-scale festivals that do very well, that are focused on a particular community. And when things are focused like that, things tend to be a little bit more positive and a little bit more together. I've been to some festivals where everything is a little bit more in disarray, and there's not a whole lot in the sense of connection or community amongst the crowd goers. Everybody's just kind of there as if everybody would be there at the mall or something. And to me, that's not really like the best sort of experience, To me, the energy of a bunch of artists being there that care about, not artists, but fans that all care about a specific particular thing is part of what makes a live performance exciting. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. Again, shout out to some festivals that I've been at the past. SOS Fest was very good. Primavera Sound was very good. And a whole litany of smaller metal and punk festivals and stuff like that, which again, typically I recommend. But even before you go to ones like that, I would do some Google searching and search up whether or not people have complained about these festivals in the past. Have there been safety issues with these festivals in the past before? Have people been hurt? Have people had to go to the hospital or something like that? Do your research. And make sure you're not paying too much, and make sure you're seeing all the artists you want to see. You're doing some adequate planning before going to these things, so there's not a whole lot of scheduling conflicts. And make sure that when you go to these things, you're safe. Okay. All right. You guys are the best. I'll see you in the next video. Over here next to my head, click on another video if you want to watch it on the channel, or click on the link to subscribe to this bish forever.